Hello. How are you?
I still don't have my fancy stuff, so I have a sign in front of my my music stand. Oh my gosh, I'm a silly person. Someone's here. Hi. Let's see. There I am. How is everyone? Well, you're one person. Who's this? Is this Dolly? Who is it? Oh, they left. They left. Well, there's nobody. I'm all by myself. Okay. Well, I might make a video. Let's see. What do I want to talk about? Oh, if no one comes, I might bail. Let me see. What have I been wanting to talk about? Let me think. I'll blow my nose. Thinking. Well, I could just wait for someone to get here. Put my sign back up. I could talk about what I did earlier, but there's already a video of that, so I don't need to do that. I could talk about setting A, but I already have videos on that too. I'm trying to think of what people have asked me about recently. If no one comes to a late live stream, I might just do the early one. Well, I'm going to answer a text while I wait on somebody. Okay. One person's here. Someone's here. Yay! If you're supposed to be here, the last person who was here was apparently not supposed to be here. They left. They left me. I felt so alone. Oh, they left me again. Amy. Hi, Amy. Are you still here? It says no one's here. It'll do that. It'll say you are here. It says no one's here. It does that. It'll give me a number. And sometimes it's more than the people who talk to me. So I don't know if they're just lurking or if the number's wrong. And then sometimes there'll be people here and I know there's a certain number of people here and it will not give me a number. Or it'll say the number will be less than how many I know are here. So I can't trust it. But anyway, you're the only one here. So, oh, it says 2. I don't know if it's right or not. Love Life G. Hello. Hello, Love Life G. So, Abdul is here. Hi, Abdul. Majid Abdul, that Abdul. I can watch morning replay if good. I thought the morning one went really well. Thank you for the heart. I saw that. I don't always see them. Love Life G. Yes, DC chapter. Yay! Hello. Abdul probably doesn't have any questions for me about aural tuning. Do you want to share anything new you've learned or any tips or tricks that I might not know about you want to share with other people? Abdul passed his exam with very good marks. I think he's a pretty good tuner. Yeah, Amy, you ought to watch the morning replay. It was kind of cool. We talked about approaches with setting a temperament. And one of the first things I talked about, I measured the difference in inharmonicity between my 2 pianos, which I could do again. No tips at this moment. Okay. Fine. All the pressure's on me. No, I'm kidding. But do you have any? Well, can you come up with something that I should talk about? Somebody has to ask me a question or I have nothing to talk about. I could also go over what I went over this morning since I have people here. So I could do that. I could show you how I gauge the degree of inharmonicity in a piano as I melt. It's very hot. I don't have air conditioning. I have no air conditioning in West Virginia because June used to be in the 70s. It was never this hot. This is insane. Okay, let's see. Well, No questions? I'll show you. I'll start with the same thing I started with this morning since it's a different crowd. I can always cut it out of the video later if we want to. So I have, it says 4 people are here. 1, 2. Someone else is here. Say hello. Do you have a question? Do you have something to share? Anything? Okay. I will go over gauging inharmonicity. So that's what I did this morning. So this is, where's my tuning lever? Okay. Harry, hi. Hi, Harry. Well, Harry doesn't have any questions either. This is a bomb, Harry. I've got a few people here and no one's asking me anything. So I'm just going to share some things that I shared this morning that seemed to go well. This morning's went really well. So if you're interested, watch that one. But let me go over this. So here we are. So on this piano, we're going to gauge some inharmonicity and then compare it to my Sommer. If I tune this 5th pure, let's say I'm going to tune it pure at the 2nd coincident partial. And the reason I'm doing the 2nd is because it's under my fingers. So that is obviously not pure. It's narrow. Almost. Whoops, I knew that was going to happen. Might be still a little wide. Oh, come on. This piano. Okay, I think that's better. So this is close to pure. Sorry that took so long. So that's close to pure. So now I'm going to see where the 1st coincident partial is. So that's also kind of close to pure. It's not that far off. Where's my weight? Oh boy, I have my weight. I was going to make it pure at the 1st. But I think I'm already there. I might be wide at the 2nd. I'm not sure here. I swear I did this earlier. I'm going to raise this note because I'm not doing well at the moment. Hold on. No, they're both kind of close to pure. So now I'm going to take you over to my Sommer. And we're going to observe what the difference is on that one. I can do this. Where's my tuning lever? There we go. Can I do this without breaking everything? Okay, so Sommer, here we go. Oh my. Yeah. So I'm going to do the exact same thing. Let me turn on some more light here. Hold on. You get to look at my piano. Oh, it's on. It's just really dark. Okay. So anyway. So that's kind of close to pure. Let's see where it is at the 1st coincident partial. It's very wide. Very wide at the 1st coincident partial. if I don't have an inharmonicity shift, I forgot to talk about that on the other piano. I'll talk about that here. If I don't have an inharmonicity shift, this piano has much higher inharmonicity than the other piano, because a fifth is just like an octave. If you tune it pure at the first coincident partial, it'll be narrow at the second. If you tune it pure at the second coincident partial, it'll be wide at the first, just like an octave. So how I can decide if this is an inharmonicity shift or if it's my piano is to also compare the octaves. So let me see where this octave is right now. That's a 4-2, isn't it? Yeah, that's really close. Let's see where it is at the third coincident partial here. It doesn't matter if it's first, second, third, whatever. Oh, let's see here. I'm going to tune it pure at the second. This is echoey. Let me see where it is the first now. That's wide at the first. So I got pure at the second coincident. Pure at the third coincident partial means it's wide at the second. My bad. And then pure at the second coincident partial, and now it's wide at the first. So I've got high inharmonicity. I've confirmed this F with two different intervals. So that means it's not just an inharmonicity shift at F, because if the F was very different than the C, it might be similar to this one. And I can check my C. So let me tune my C. And that's still just as great. I can tune this fifth pure. Oh, wait a minute. This is why my pianos are never in tune. So, comparing different intervals like this, I can tell it's kind of high in harmonicity, whereas the other one, it's much lower. And I can compare these same, fifth octave. And if they all come out the same, then it's not 100%, but you get an idea of what the inharmonicity is. So anywho, so that's something, you can play around with. If the difference between the intervals you're measuring is great, you're dealing with high inharmonicity or an inharmonicity shift, and vice versa. And if you get the opposite of what I showed you, it's definitely an inharmonicity shift. So if you tune it pure at the second coincident partial or third with an octave, or it doesn't matter, I could have done first and second. If you tune it pure at the second coincident partial and it's like really narrow at the first, inharmonicity shift. It's negative inharmonicity. It's annoying. Anyway, so we talked about that. And then we talked about practicing temperaments. That's what we talked about this morning. So let's see. Anyone have anything they want to talk about? This might be a short session, because if no one has something they want to talk about, I'm not going to keep trying to make stuff up. But I am going to go sit back at my grand piano here. You get to look at all the banjos and the instruments in the background. Boop, boop, boop. Wee. Okay. I got 5 people here now. My microphone is acting up. Oh, thank you. Oh, shoot. Which microphone is it? What's it? Oops. Oh, I can mute it. I didn't know that. There's distortion. Oh, on the attack. Yeah. I wonder if I could turn it down. Let me check this since you're letting me know. I think I'm on this microphone. Am I? I hope. Let me try this. Is that any better? The sustain is usually bad. Thank you for telling me that. Let me know if this is any better. So the problem I was having before with the live streams is definitely on the playback. On the recording playback, the sustain's just gone. It's just not there. So it's been pretty frustrating. I might switch to Zoom for that reason, even though I'd rather just have a live stream. But no one has mentioned distortion until now. Did that make it better, Harry? Or am I just quieter? Or neither? Is that any better? Anybody? Doesn't seem as bad. Christopher. Hi, Christopher. Thanks for coming. Sustain seems a little better. Okay, so I turned the input of my microphone down. I'm going to have to play around with that. I'll listen to my playback and see if it... Hi! and see if it's better. That's another problem with this. Even I've had people tell me it sounded okay live, but on the playback it stinks. It's not very good. Can I turn off automatic level control? I have no idea. I have no idea. What I know most people do, and I don't have that yet. Christopher, I'm just learning to aurally tune from a tuner in my area. I've done about 15 pianos now and I'm having a blast. Great. That's awesome. That's wonderful. So for Harry, if I learn how to use something called, I think it's OBS, I forget, but I'll find out. There's a thing that all the streamers use that lets you do a window in a window, picture in picture, and it lets you really adjust your sound. And I think until I get that, I'm probably just out of luck. I'm probably not going to have some awesome sound. Let me check one more thing while I'm here. No, it's all video stuffs. I think I'm just out of luck until I get that other program going. I just haven't had time. So, but thank you, because this will motivate me to try to do that by next month. So Christopher, I'm glad you're having a blast. That's awesome. Do you have any questions or, anything you want to share from your experience as a new tuner or a new aural tuner anyway? Have you been a tuner for a while, like with an ETD or something and learning to tune aurally, or are you starting out all aural? Iggy, now, do you have suggestions for pianos in humid areas? I'm in the Ozarks, and this time of year, every piano sucks. Yeah, I'm dying right now. It's so hot and humid here. It's insane. I don't have any suggestions except if the air conditioning can really dry out in the summer. Air conditioning is good. I'm sweating right now. I'm just a mess. And then damp chaser rods with a humidistat. Always have a humidistat. With damp chaser rods, they can really help. I have found in my area, some pianos are so sensitive to humidity changes. My tuning might last 2 months if I'm lucky. There's other pianos that it seems like no matter what the humidity does, they just hold tune. I got, that's it. Aggie Knapp, I think I'll invent a new action made of plastic. Christopher says, Aggie Knapp, haha, do it. Well, Kawhi is working on that. Have you seen, and the WNG parts, have you seen those? So Kawhi has been working with, Harry might remind me of the type. It's not really plastic, but it's like a plastic. Oh, what is it? I'm not going to remember. But Kawai has been making action parts out of this stuff that is not affected by humidity. And WNG action parts are made out of this same stuff. Thank you, Harry. I knew Harry knew. I knew he knew. ABS plastic, carbon reinforced ABS plastic. Yes. So it's actually being done. It's being done by Kawai and WNG, and the parts are more stable. They actually are. And they're pretty strong, although I have seen only a picture, not in person. I have seen my first WNG whipping break. It freaked me out because I had never seen that before, but somehow it broke. And the technician showed this picture and they were like, how? And I'm like, I have no idea how that broke in the piano. You know, it was crazy, but they are doing it. And I have been told that they're still, where did it break? At the flange. The whipping flange broke. I wonder if I could find the picture. I'm not going to try to find it now. It'll take too long. But it broke not, oh wait, where did it break? The flange itself didn't break. It broke right next to the flange. I think on the screw side. I think that's where it broke. So like maybe the screw was tightened too much and stressed it. I don't know. So it broke between the screw and the flange. It broke. Or was it just after that? It was right around the flange. And I'm guessing someone was hitting it hard. I don't know. It could have been faulty. Could have been faulty to begin with. I got 10 people. Hey, say hello. Ask me a question. So I have gotten reports back from some rebuilders who have said the ABS stuff does still react to humidity, but divide by 10. So very little. And it's probably the felt, to be honest, because they're still using felt. I mean, I'm guessing. I don't know that, you know. But yeah, that was wild. It actually broke. I saw one. And the technician claimed it broke in the piano. I'm assuming they were telling the truth. So, oh, whoops, sorry. Christopher, I saw that. Yes. That's all I have for you. I'm sorry I don't have more. It's very frustrating. It's very frustrating. We're very humid this time of year. Air conditioning, dehumidifier rods with a humidistat. That's the only thing that helps me. I have one piano that's so sensitive. I put 2 heater bars in it, and it doesn't seem to be working. We're going to put a full system in it and see if that helps. But anyway, eggy nap, carbon fiber, maybe I'll need to get rich. Yeah, but they're making it. They're making it. Carbon fiber reinforced ABS plastic. That's what it is. It's ABS plastic. So, well, does anyone have any tuning questions? I got 8 people. Eggy nap. I think you've explained it in another video, but I missed it. Why is the check note, a major 14th or whatever it is, lower than the coincident partial? I can answer that. I may as well. And then Casey Archer. Hi, Casey. Can you talk about setting the pin? Oh, God. Specifically bending of the pins, how to avoid, is it unavoidable, etc. Oh God, I hate this topic so much. I will talk about that. I've talked about that a lot. That's like the most common question, and every time someone asks, I'm like, no, don't ask me that. Okay, but let me talk about is it 14th? Is it a major 14th? Wait, 17th. Isn't it a 17th? Well, anyway, it's a couple of, I'll show you why. Okay, hold on 1 second. Let me get my handy dandy little temperament strips here. In fact, let me get a color coded one here. I have color coded ones. I forgot I had made them. So let's do a 5th. Let's do a 5th. Okay, so wait a minute. Sorry. If I can do this. Oh, come on. Stay where I put you. My camera's going to move all over the place. Oh, it's stained. Okay, so if I have a 5th, Actually, wait, hold up. Let's just look at the harmonic series for a second. Okay. Here's my fundamental, first partial, second partial, third, fourth, fifth. Okay. Now let's look at the intervals involved. We have an octave. An octave is quiet. Okay. 12th, which is an octave plus a fifth, quiet interval. Double octave, quiet interval. What's next? It's a fast beating interval. So the 17th, yes, it's the 17th. Yes, thank you. Okay, good. The 17th is the first fast beating interval in the harmonic series. It's a major third. All the other ones, fifth, fourth, they're all quiet. Okay, so if I'm looking at a fifth, now I'll go back to my fifth. Let's say I want, here's my first coincident partial. Here's the second coincident partial. I'm going to choose the second one only because of where my camera is right now. So if I take the 17th partial of a note, it's going to put me on this note here. And that gives me a fast beating interval. So let's see, what am I doing here? Yeah. So if I play here and here, I've got a nice fast beating interval. And then here and here, I've got a nice fast beating interval. And that's the only reason it gives us a fast beating interval. You could choose other ones, but then you'd have interference, with lower partials. You kind of want the lowest you can get because that's going to be your loudest partial. So I hope that makes sense. If you want me to talk about how they work, I can do that, although I have already talked about that before. There's only so much you can talk about, I guess. So setting the pin. Oh, gosh. All right. I learned this the hard way. And I like to tell people that Iggy Knapp says, makes sense, thanks. I'll need to cogitate some, but that helps. Okay, good. I might come back to how that works if no one has any other questions. We can talk about that. But let me pull out a unison. There we are. So this sounds yucky. Oh, how does my sound? Can you hear it okay? I got a wow, 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 wow. I've got a yucky unison right now. Christopher, can you talk about checks in general? Super noob here. You're fine. That's what I'd rather talk about. Like a quick Cliff Notes version of which checks to use for which. Yes, I can do that. Also, sound is good. Okay, good. All right, let's go over this. So what I do is I kind of subscribe to the Dan Levitan school of lever technique. All right. If I have my lever, oh man, if I have my lever 90 degrees to my strings, all right, and I pull the lever toward me, I am not going to be able to not flex the pin in the direction of the speaking length. If I push the lever away from me, I'm going to flex the pin that way. Flex. It's going to flex. It's going to flex in the direction I'm pushing or pulling. That's unavoidable. So if I don't want pin flex in the direction of the speaking length, I have to put it this way. The pin is still going to flex, but it's going to be flexing perpendicular to my strings. So it's not going to affect my tuning. All right. So that's a fundamental principle that I think everyone pretty much agrees on. Now, here's where it gets weird. Dan Levitan, because everyone says don't flex the pin, don't flex the pin. I'm going to come back to that. Dan Levitan made a C lever. I have it nearby actually, where you can tune the pin. You can have a tuning lever here, and it comes off on my screen here over the keys, and you can tune it and not flex the pin. And he told me when he did this, he couldn't get a stable tuning. So he was convinced that you had to flex the pin at least a little bit to get a stable tuning. And he watched people who claimed they didn't flex the pin, and he saw them flex the pin. And I have also seen that. I have seen people who claim they don't flex the pin, And sure enough, they're flexing the pin. I have also seen people tune with a impact lever. And to me, it looks like they're not flexing the pin and they can get a stable tuning. And I've seen people tune with a very jerky motion, and it seems like they're not flexing the pin and they're getting a stable tuning. Having said that, I can't do that. I have tried and tried and tried. And the other thing is I don't want to bang on the piano. If you bang on a piano, you can get a pretty darn stable tuning, but I don't want to do that. I don't like wearing earplugs. I don't want to damage my hearing or the piano. Happy Piano. Hi, Happy Piano. Welcome back. Happy Piano says, impact levers do not flex pins, but test blows are needed to make sure you have equal tension in speaking and non-speaking leads. Okay, so then test. There you go. If you're banging on the piano, you can get that tension equalized. I'll talk about that in a minute too. And get it stable. And Rick used to tell me, my main aural teacher, Rick used to tell me that if I could bang a piano into tune, he could bang it out of tune. And I proved him wrong. So he is now a believer. But anyway, I don't want to bang on the pin. So what I learned from Dan, okay, that's already sharp. I'm going to come down and I'm going to flex it a little bit. You can't really see it that well. Let me come over here. There. Now you can really see it. Okay, let's see. So I'm going to, as I'm lowering the pitch, I'm going to flex it a little bit. I'm kind of pushing it at 45. So I went a little past it this time, and that it worked out for me because I had enough bounce back. Sometimes you don't. It depends on the piano. Let me test blow it here. Almost. And how I think it's stable to a point. There's a limit to this. So if I push up on it and it goes sharp kind of easily, but if I push down on it and it doesn't, I'm pretty good. Now if I push down, if it's too much of that, then I'm not stable. It's going to go sharp instead of flat. I hope that made sense. So if I can push down on it and it goes flat, and pull up on it, it goes a little sharp, but it's easier to push down flat, then it's going to go flat. So I think I've got it. I've got it to where if I push down, it's a little bit harder to make it drop than pulling sharp up. To me, in my mind, you know, I'm not a scientist. I don't scale pianos, but whatever. This is how I think about it. I want equal tension on the speaking length and the non-speaking length with a hard blow, because that's where the most tension happens. That's where it's going to get knocked out of tune, is not when it's sitting still. It's with a hard blow. So I want equal tension on a hard blow. Therefore, at rest, I need slight, talking a little bit here, slight more tension in the speaking length than the non-speaking length. If the tension is equal in the non-speaking length and speaking length, and I give it a hard blow, I'm going to increase the tension in the speaking length with that hard blow, and then it's going to go flat. Now, that's how I think about it. That's how Dan Levitan thinks about it. Is it right? I don't know, but it works for me. And the other thing I want to mention, if I have tight pins, like really tight pins, I've learned that this works really well. Let's see, where's my camera here? I need to get a better camera. Sorry. There we are. You can see it. Okay. If I have really, really tight pins, then I'll put it at a 90 degree, because when I push, it flexes just the right amount. It's just absolutely perfect. And then when I let go, it bounces back, and I don't have to flex anything on purpose. Whoops. And it'll flex back and give me the pushback I need if the pins are really tight. So that's my favorite situation. I've had a lot of success with that. I think that's everything I was going to say about that. I hope that's helpful. I am not an expert on this. Half of what I learned the hard way on my own. So, you know, I just kind of do what works. Happy piano. I fully support banging into tune. It can be very beneficial. It doesn't work on every piano, though, depending on pin stability. So I guess if you have loose tuning pins, is that what you mean? That it could be a problem? I just don't want to bang. I've worked really hard to develop a lever technique to where I can get it in tune and stable without banging. It's been a particularly good goal of mine. Yes, so I am understanding you correctly. Okay, yeah. If your pins are really loose. So if I have a tight pin, I'm going to be over here more. But most of the time I'm this way because I don't want it to flex too much or too little. And the looser the pins, let me think about this now because friction matters as well. I feel like, no, I'm not going to say it that way. The greater the friction, the more I want to flex the pin, I think. I'm going to say it that way. So friction, meaning the agraph and the felt. If there's a lot, like high friction means if I'm lowering the pitch and the lever moves and nothing happens, it means it's getting hung up in here somewhere. That's high friction. So if I pull on it and I know I've moved that pin and the pitch isn't changing, that's high friction. I'll be bending that pin a lot more in these situations because I want to get that pin in the right spot and then adjust my speaking length, so to speak. So banging into tune works. I just really try not to do it. Happy piano. I had a question for you while tuning today. Convenient, you're streaming tonight. Yay! Could you explain the difference between inharmonicity and overtones? Oh, yeah, sure. And I'll come back to checks on this as well. Actually. So hold on. Okay, so let me go back to the fifth there. Let me go back to my fifth. I was here on this fifth. Let me go. Actually, let me get the skinny ones here. Okay, first let's talk about overtones. Okay, these represent my overtones of my fifth. In fact, I'm going to come down because that's where my camera is. So I'm going to come down to my C to G fifth here. Okay, so these are overtones. I have them plotted out on the keyboard. Root, octave, fifth, fourth. Sorry, let me take this one out of the way for a minute. So partial series off of this C. In this C, if I hold this down and don't make any sound, if I play this note, nothing happens. It's going to ring. Whoops. Whoops, no dampers up there. So anyway, all those notes are in here. Those are overtones or partials or harmonics. That's all basically the same thing. Casey, thank you. You're welcome. I hope that was helpful. So if I look at my fifth, all right, I have a partial series coming off of C, a partial series coming off of G. First coincident partial with a fifth is the ratio of the interval. The ratio of the fifth is 3 to 2. So I have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. You might already know this, but bear with me for a minute. So the ratio of a fifth is 3 to 2. You double that, you get the second coincident partial at 6 to 4. And these are partials. Okay, we're not dealing with inharmonicity yet. These are just partials. Inharmonicity is when the partials go sharp. So what happens with the lower note, that lower note kind of has a head start. Partials only go upward. They don't go downward. They only go upward. So the lower note always has a head start with getting its partials sharp. So I'm going to get my where is it? Here we go. My inharmonicity strip here. Whoops. So now what I have, the partials are still there, but they're no longer multiples of the root. So here, if I tune my fifth pure at the third and second coincident partials, at the 3-2 coincident partials here, what's happening at the next one? You see it up here? The silver line is the bottom note. The black plain one is my top note of my interval. And what's happening here? The top note of the interval is flat of the partial from the bottom note of my interval. That means it's narrow at the second coincident partial. Okay. This is why when I tuned it pure at the second coincident partial, what's happening at the first one now? It's wide. Do you see? Most people see this with an octave. Let's just look at an octave real quick and I'll come back to the fifth. If I tune an octave pure at the first coincident partial, which is 2 to 1. That's the ratio of an octave. All right. Now I'm narrow at every coincident partial above that. They're all narrow if I have regular inharmonicity, which I'm assuming we do have right now. So if I tune it pure at the second coincident partial, I'm now wide at the first, but I'm narrow at all the ones above it. If I tune it pure at the third coincident partial, I am now wide at the first and second, but narrow at the next ones. Okay, that's a really nice example because we have so many coincident partials we can deal with an octave. So with a fifth, now a fourth has a ratio of 4 to 3. So my first coincident partial is 4 and 3. There is a second coincident partial of a fourth. To get the second coincident partial of anything, you just double it. So it's 8 to 6. 5, 6, 7, 8 to 6. Now up here, we're really narrow. So I'm pure at the first coincident partial. I'm really narrow at the second, but a fourth is wide, right? So we're going to tune it wide. What happens at the second coincident partial now? We're getting pure. We're closer to pure if I tune the first coincident partial wide, okay? Which is nice. I think that's kind of a cool thing. Anyway, so let's see. So partial inharmonicity causes this. If we had no inharmonicity, we could tune our octave pure, or any interval pure at any at all the coincident partials at the same time. They would all be pure at the same time with no inharmonicity. We could do that with a fifth as well, but with a fifth, there we are. Am I out of alignment that there? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, a little off up here. It's close. Anyway, you can do that with a fifth as well, but we can't tune an equal temperament without tempering the fifth. So when we're tuning an octave wide, quote unquote, we're not tempering. We're just dealing with inharmonicity. With a fifth, we have to tune it narrow. So we're going to be narrow at the first and or second coincident partial. Okay. What am I doing here? 3 to 2. Oh, yeah, this doesn't have my inharmonicity in it. So we're tuning it narrow, but without inharmonicity, it would be equally narrow at all the coincident partials. Because of inharmonicity, everything is actually stretched, not just the octaves, fifths, and everything else. So with my fifth, I'm going to tune it narrow, but less narrow than it would be if it, there it is. I'm going to tune it less narrow than it would be like on an organ. So on an organ or an instrument with almost no inharmonicity, your fifths and fourths are tempered the same amount, but because everything is stretched wide, our fifths and fourths aren't tempered the same amount because a fifth is narrow and it's stretched wide because of inharmonicity. So it's a little less narrow than like on an organ. And a fourth, which is already wide, is going to be extra wide. It's stretched more wide than like on an organ. I hope that explains a lot. Everybody's been writing and I haven't been looking. Let's see. Christopher, that explains so much. Oh, wonderful. Good. I had a pen like that the other day and thought I was hallucinating the movement of the pen. Oh, no. Okay, now we're back on the tuning. Yes. If you're moving the pin and the pitch is not changing, you have a high friction problem. Some people actually put counterbearing lube on the bearing points, just a little though. And that can help. I've had it help. I've had it work miracles for me and I've had it do nothing. Casey, thank you. Christopher, how do we resolve all these issues with inharmonicity? Seems like a big problem. Yeah, it's a big problem. It makes tuning a lot harder. You can get used to it. So how do we solve this problem? We make our fifths a little less narrow than you would if you were tuning without inharmonicity, but we don't really have to think about that. We just know they have to be a little narrow. And with fourths, they have to be a little more wide than fifths are narrow. And you deal with it. So that's basically it. In equal temperament, fast beating intervals have to progress. So as you go down, they get faster. As you go up, they get faster. So in other words, these might not be in tune right now, but these have to go major thirds, major sixths, and their combinations. Those have to go faster as you go up, slower as you go down. Okay. Now, Where was I going with that? I forgot already. Let me think. Oh yeah, without equal temperament, that's totally not the case. Thirds don't have to progress. It's actually much easier to set a temperament not in equal temperament. Equal temperament is very hard to get to because you're dealing mathematically, you're dealing with irrational numbers, and aurally, that it does make it challenging to get your fifths narrow, fourths wide, and your fast beating intervals to progress. It can be a challenge. Let me think. Was I going to say something else about that? Does anyone have any questions about what I've said so far? I'm looking to see if I missed anything. Inharmonicity is just the way pianos are. Rick Butler doesn't see it as a problem. However, I get it. It makes life harder. It's way easier to tune an organ. It's still hard. You still have to temper, but you don't have to deal with inharmonicity. Oh, I know what it was. I was going to talk about. Coincident partials. I'm going to leave this strip here in case I want it. So let's say I'm tuning a fifth. Where's my camera? If I'm on this fifth, is this? I'm going to turn this. Okay. Let's say I'm tuning this fifth at the first coincident partial. Actually, no, let me get my other strip. There. First coincident partial. All right. I am going to use the fifth partial from a note. And if I put my fifth partial from my strip up, it brings me to this note here. Now notice on a fifth, the second coincident partial is a minor third, major third. But for the first coincident partial, it's an octave below that. It's just an octave jump. That's all it is. So if I have this fifth tuned pure, all right, a major third and or a sixth is a wide interval. All right. So the partial from my check note is going to be lower than the partial from the F or the C, because these are wide intervals. They're tuned wide. It's beating because this partial is flat of those. Or you could think of it as the partial from the C or F is sharp of the partial from the G sharp. You could think of it that way as well. So these two are, if this fifth is equal beating, if my sixth and my 10th are equal beating, it means that both these partials are equidistant, same exact distance from my check note partial. All right. So, hold on. I thought someone asked me another question. Christopher, makes sense. Thanks for clarifying. You're welcome. Okay. Now, if these two are equidistant from my check note partial, these two intervals are going to be exactly the same. A fifth is narrow. Let's say I raise my F. If I raise my F, I'm making my F to C more narrow, raising the floor of my interval, which means this partial is going to come up. Now, if this partial comes up, I have just made it go further away from my check note partial. So if it's further away, it's going to beat faster. So now my sixth is faster than my 10th. And that proves that my fifth is narrow at the first coincident partial. Now let's say I do it the other way. Let's say I raise or lower C rather. Sorry, not raise. Let's say I lower C to narrow my fifth. I lower C, I make the partial from the C closer to the partial from my check note. My 10th is now slower than my sixth, which is exactly the same scenario I had before. So as long as the sixth is faster than the 10th, I know this fifth is narrow at the second coincident partial. It doesn't matter exactly where my check note is. Doesn't matter, because the relationship, if these are equidistant, if I lower my check note, they'll beat faster. If I raise my check note, they'll beat slower, unless it's inverted. Unless it's backwards, then you have a problem. But as long as they're equal beating, they're the same distance. So I hope that was helpful. Happy Piano says, carbon fiber? We were talking about, if you're asking about the... let me see if I can do this. There. if you're asking about the WNG products, we were talking about carbon fiber reinforced ABS. They're making piano parts out of that now, and they're nice. They don't respond to humidity as much or anything like that. Is that what you meant? Happy piano? Or did you mean something else? So I hope that was helpful. I don't think I've missed anything. Oh, I did. I knew there was something I was forgetting. Christopher asked if I would talk about checks in general. They are on my playlist, which I will put in the description of this when I'm done, but I will go over some right now. So I mentioned the fifth. Do you want me to use my strips or just show you the checks? Which would you prefer? Let me get a little higher here so I have more of a keep. Ah! Hello, I'm upside down. I need to get a better system, but I just don't. I have not had time. Come on, you. Stay. There we are. Yay. Okay, checks. Here we go. I'll put some strips up here. So I got 3 strips. Where's the long one? There we are. Lower note, upper note, check note. Now I mentioned the first coincident partial of the fifth. Here it is right here, 6, 10. All right. I'm just going to go through these real quick, but with my strips. So if I take this up an octave, I am now lined up at the second coincident partial of the fifth, minor third, major third. Fifths are narrow. So I want my lower interval of whatever I'm measuring to be faster than my upper interval because it's a narrow interval. Now a fourth is a wide interval. So let me go over here. Here we are. There. Am I lining up? There we are. Lining up. Now, once again, I want the fifth 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 partial from this to line up with the coincident partial from my fourth. Where's my check note? Right here. So I got a major third, major sixth. Now here, I want my fourth to be wide. All right. So if it's wide, I'm going to either raise B flat or lower F. Right now, let me raise B flat, which means I'm further away from my check note partial, which means the sixth is going to be faster. So if a fourth is wide, the third is slower, the sixth is faster. The upper, if an interval is wide, the upper note in your checking is going to be the faster one. Octave. Where's some? Let's see. Let me go here on my screen here. Actually, let me jump up here because I'm going to do first coincident partial of an octave. We usually don't use this very much. So if I put my fifth partial from my check note, on my, come on, there you go. Fifth partial here. To measure the first coincident partial of an octave, I have a 10th and a 17th. That measures my first coincident partial. I'm going to go up an octave to my second coincident partial, major third, major 10th. And if the upper note, like I don't know if you can hear this. Okay, so right now my upper interval from the upper note is beating slower than the one from the lower note. That means it's narrow at whatever coincident partial I'm measuring. Okay, so this octave right now is narrow at the second coincident partial. I'm going to come down here to an octave. There we go. Now, third coincident partial, we're going to put the fifth partial of my check note strip in line with the third coincident partial. Here's my check note. So minor third, major sixth. That's for the third coincident partial. And then the fourth coincident partial, I'm going off the screen, is up here. Wait a minute. 1, 2, whoops, sorry. My bad. I knew that was wrong. So it's a sixth, minor sixth, major third. And that's an 8 to 4 octave. We pretty much don't use that. You could use it in the bass. That measurement might be really nice in the bass. I don't think it's very useful anywhere else. So that's 5th, 4th octave. Oh, you know what? Let me show you a 12th, because I like to listen to my 12ths as I go into the bass a lot. So if I have a 12th, is that in my camera, sort of? Yeah, that's in my camera. Okay, so here's a 12th, which is an octave and a 5th. Okay. I can do 2, 3, 5. First coincident partial, which is the 12th itself. It's just like measuring a 5th. Oh, shoot. There we go. Come on. I got to work on this camera. Okay, now that's not very useful in the bass. So I use the second coincident partial when I tune, which is just like a 5th again, minor 3rd, but now instead of a major 3rd, I have a major 6th. Wait a minute, that's wrong. 12th. Oh my God, that's an octave. I'm so sorry. I'm tired. Minor 3rd, 10th, major 10th. Oh, this one's really clear. Listen to this. No. It's pretty fast. No. That's way slow. So this 12th is very narrow right now. I like that check as I go down into the bass. It helps me check my 12ths. Okay. How's that? Do we have any other questions? We have, I'm pretty much out of time. Okay. Are people still with me? Did I bore you to death? I'm going to do this once a month. I'm going to keep doing it until people don't come. As long as we have something to talk about, I will continue to do this. So thank you if you've stuck with me. I hope that was helpful. Any questions before we go? Comments, concerns? I know I need to work on the microphone. Love life, G, great lesson. Oh, good. Thank you. You're welcome. I'm so glad. Christopher, so how do you use that 12th check? Okay. I'm going to answer that question. Okay, Harry, good job. Thank you, Harry. Harry is one of my mentors. So if Harry says I did a good job, I'm very happy. Okay, so okay, I'm going to go over how I use the 12th in the bass. I use it 2 ways. The first way is basically a bottom limit. So one of the problems in the bass, especially with examiners, ask me how I know, is kind of stretching it a little too much. So a 12th is a beautiful limit for me, because they talk about perfect 12th tunings. Great. Perfect 12ths can make your 5ths go wide. You have to be very, very careful not to let your 12ths go wide, because remember what we said about a 5th. I'm going to come all the way down here. This is important. Okay. We said that wait a minute, I got the wrong strip here. This is important, especially if you want to do perfect 12th tunings or pure 12th tunings. This is important with a 5th. All right. If you are, actually, let me look at a 12th here. How am I going to explain this? With a 5th, if you're pure at the first coincident partial, you're narrow at the second. But if you're pure at the second, you're wide at the first. Okay. If you have a pure 12th, how am I going to do this? Let me see if I make that. Oh, I'm going to have to make a video on this. That's just how it's going to be. Oh boy, I have something to make a video about. Okay. Well, let me go to a 12th. Here we are. If you have a 12th, is that a 12th? If you have a 12th that is, if you have a 12th that is wide, I'm just going to say this. I'm not going to try to explain it right now. If you have a 12th that is actually wide, there is no way you can have things equally tempered inside that 12th without at least 1/5 being wide. You're going to end up with wide 5ths. You don't want wide 5ths. At the most, you want them pure. At very most. So with that thinking, at the most, you want your 12ths going down to be pure. Okay. So let's say I'm going down and I'm tuning, let me go a little higher for a minute here. Let's say I'm tuning this F. Okay. I am going to be checking. Let me get these out of my way. I'm just going to show you. I'm going to be running tenths. I'm going to check fifth. I'm going to listen to the fifth, listen to the fourth, make sure they're okay. I'm going to listen to the 12th. Okay, now, if my fast beating, with fast beating intervals, you can push them as you get lower to where they're almost equal beating and have nice octaves. Okay, it's really easy to do that, but if you don't watch your 12ths, you can end up stretching a little too far and it ends up not sounding good up here. So let's say I'm bringing this down and I have this equal beating or a little slower. I'm going to check my 12th. I can measure it. Listen to that. Now it's a little narrow, but that's pushing it. That's almost pure. So that would be a red flag to me that I should not lower F much more, if at all. It's a wonderful bottom limit. So that's how I use 12ths going down. It's a good bottom limit to check that. And then I run tenths down as far as I can hear them with 12th as my bottom limit check. And then octave and a minor seventh. Here, I don't know if you can hear the beats or not through the... Whoops, I'm out of tune. Whoa, I'm getting really out of tune. I run those down and I'm pushing my intervals as fast as I can without them speeding up. I want them to slow down just a little bit, but I can check my 12th. Now sometimes it gets too muddy. But I can listen to it. It should be quiet. That one could be more quiet, to be honest. And I've said this 100 times. I'm going to say it one more time, and then I'm going to go. So in the bass, octave is wide. 12th is narrow. Double octave is very close to pure, usually on the wide side, but it's close. It should be really quiet. Triple octave is narrow. Because by the time you get up here, the partials from your lower note are so sharp because of inharmonicity, you're looking at a narrow interval. So if I'm confident in what I've tuned so far, if I have, if I'm tuning this, and let's say I have a really nice quiet 12th. Okay. Let's say I have a nice quiet double octave. And let's say I have a nice quiet triple octave. But let's say this sounds bad. Let's say my single octave sounds bad. To me, that tells me it might be flat. Because this octave is already wide. And all my narrow intervals, well, double octave almost always sounds good. But if my 12th and triple octave are noisy, it means it's probably sharp. But if they're quieter, it means it's probably flat. And it helps me go back and check my fast beating intervals. Where am I here? And just reevaluate. So that's how I use 12ths in my bass. I use them as a lower end stop. Yay. And now I'm officially out of time. So anyway, thank you all very much. I'm going to skedaddle. And I really appreciate you joining me. Got 11 people here. We hit max at 14. Amy, thank you. You're welcome. And thank you, Harry. And thank you, everybody else. And I will be back next month. And we'll do it again. Got it? That helps me understand more. Great. Great. You might want to check out my... You're welcome. Thank you, Christopher. You're welcome. You might want to check out my Music Theory for Piano Technicians playlist, which I will put in the description after this is uploaded. It takes a while. There's a ton of information there about checks. So if you want to learn about checks, go there. Ugga Bugga. Hi, Ugga Bugga. I didn't see you earlier. I love your name. You're welcome. All right, everyone have a wonderful evening. Stay cool if you're like me and burning up. And I hope to see you all next month. Happy tuning. Bye-bye.